All right. Hello, everyone. I don't know who's going to join me tonight. This is going to be a short stream. Let me just make sure. Microphone. Okay. That is what, yeah, that is where that's where I want it to be. Okay. I should be speaking through this microphone now. Okay, everyone, I just wanted to come on and do a follow up to my discussion with Katy Barrett regarding homeschooling. During that interview, thank you to those of you who watched that. By the way, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Right now, I am 16 subs away from 1,900. So that is the next milestone. So if you're watching this and you're not subbed, please consider subscribing. So there was a link that I shared during that discussion with Katy Barrett that I was going to read it before I brought her up, but it was going to take too long. And I didn't want to keep her waiting or bore the audience. So I decided to do it in a follow-up piece. So that's what this is going to be. It's not going to be long. It's a short link, but it's giving some facts and figures about homeschooling. And you may wonder, well, Dr. Dunbar, what's your interest in all this? I'll talk about that after I play the intro. So let me go ahead and play the intro because I don't want to prolong this. I've been sitting in front of computer screens all day, with the exception of lunchtime when I went out and went to the gym. Persona non grata. I always liked that saying. Thank you for stopping through. He says hello, hello. All right, let me play my intro and then I will jump in. Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for this second discussion on this controversial but important topic. Do either of you have any parting words?
I do. And it's just thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. You ask questions in such a way that I don't know what your perspective is. I think as a host, that's exactly perfect. It's difficult, but you get more on the table from guests if you're not the story. And I really, really appreciate talking to you.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Anwar.
Because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. All right, everyone. That introduction was with James Harrigan and Dr. Anthony Davies, a political scientist and an economist. They are the content creators for the Words and Numbers podcast, and I post their stuff on my community tab. Sometimes I'm not going to get on my high horse tonight, but I'll just say that I think there's something we can learn from everybody, regardless of skin color or culture or religion. So I'll just stop that there. They were guests on the channel a while back. I want to thank everyone who supported my interview with Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I think that's still getting views. I think I might change that introduction up at some point to incorporate a piece of our discussion. But I have other guests that I plan to have come on. One of them is Captain Capitalism, Aaron Clary, Cappy. I'm reading his book right now, Enjoy the Decline. And I think this gets to the question that I asked before I played the intro, which was, Dr. Dunbar, what's your interest in this? Well, I'm curious, in addition to wanting to interview people and talk to other subject matter experts, I'm curious about where things are going, whether it's gender, whether it's economics, whether it's social class, whether it's technology. I'm curious as to where things are going. So Erica Williams, shout out to Erica Williams from the Classy Climb podcast or the Classy Climb channel. Erica is in that business space, and she has her finger on the pulse of pretty much everything business related. I would like to interview her one day, but she's always keeping her eyes on things, and she likes to talk about social circles, who's allowed into this group, who's allowed into this group, who are actually in these business circles, and who are the successful people and the wealthy people in our nation, and how do you get there? Well, I guess about a month ago, she posted a chart showing a spike in the number of parents homeschooling their children. So there's something for some families, there's something that's causing them to opt to homeschool their children versus sending their children to public school. And then the question is, are we seeing some sort of disaggregation, or will there be some sort of disaggregation or some sort of separation due to this? A guest that I am in negotiations with to bring on, he made a really, really exciting video. Well, there's a very, very exciting video in his library talking about economic segregation versus racial segregation. And so for years now, in my circle, there's been a lot of talk of the United States starting to separate out in terms of class, economic class and social class versus race. So I'm very, very interested in these things. But in any case, please consider subscribing to the channel. Please smash that like button if you haven't. And if you're watching this in the playback, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you're watching live or on the playback and you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are here. And you can also leave a super thanks. And with that, I'm going to get into this piece that I want to share. And I'm going to wrap the stream up immediately afterwards. So you can also leave a super thanks if something I say here resonates with you. So this is a bit of a filler piece in between guests. All right, so this one was sent to me by Salchi the Equalizer. Thank you, Salchi, for sending me this. It's not a long read, but there are some very, very insightful things here, which I am going to go over for the duration of this stream. Okay, this link is also below in the description box. Hopefully YouTube does not poach it out, because if YouTube thinks that you're leaving spam underneath your videos, YouTube will remove those links. Hello, Really Chris. Always good to see you. Thank you for stopping through. I hope you had a good holiday. It's actually a little chilly here in Western New York. It was down in the 20s. Okay, so as not to waste time, this link, and again, thank you to Salchi for sharing this with me. This is called Research Facts on Homeschooling. Let's see, Homeschooling, the research facts on homeschooling, homeschool fast facts by Brian D. Ray, PhD. And this is off of the National Home Education Research Institute. This article gives key research facts on homeschooling. All right, general facts, statistics, and trends. There were about 3.1 million homeschool students in 2021-2022 in grades K through 12 in the United States, roughly 6% of school-age children. There were about 2.5 million homeschool students in spring 2019, or 3% to 4% of school-age children. The homeschool population had been growing at an estimated 2% to 8% per annum over the past several years, but it grew drastically from 2019 to 2020 to 2020 to 2021. When I went over this when I went over this in my interview with Katy Barrett, one of the things I thought about was, okay, well, that makes sense since we went through COVID. A lot of kids were forced to do school at home. But then I thought about it and I said, you know what? That's different. When these parents homeschool their kids, they're unplugging from the public school system. So this is different. This is different. All right. This bar chart shows thousands home educated, and it's showing that the x-axis is thousands home educated. Let me start from the top. This graph is entitled Growth of Homeschooling in the United States. The y-axis designates thousands home educated, and that x-axis represents time. So those bar charts are showing the increase in the magnitude of kids homeschooled starting from 1970. And as you can see, that number has increased dramatically starting at 1990. It's gone steadily upwards. This link is below in the description box. Homeschooling, that is parent-led home-based education. Home education is an age-old traditional educational practice that a decade ago appeared to be cutting edge and alternative, but is now bordering on mainstream in the United States. It may be the fastest growing form of education in the United States. Home-based education has also been growing around the world in many other nations, e.g. Australia, Canada, France, Hungary, Japan, Kenya, Russia, Mexico, South Korea, Thailand, and the United Kingdom. So there's something happening worldwide where parents are saying, we don't want our kids in the public education school system anymore. This is very, very interesting. A demographically wide variety of people homeschool. These are atheists, Christians, and Mormons, conservatives, libertarians, and liberals, low, middle, and high income families, Black, Hispanic, and white, parents with PhDs, GEDs, and no high school diplomas. One nationwide study showed that 41% of homeschool students are Black, Asian, Hispanic, and others, i.e. non-white / non-Hispanic. And that's from the U.S. Department of Education in 2019. Taxpayers spend an average of $16,446 per pupil annually in public school plus capital expenditures. The roughly 3.1 million homeschool students of 2021 to 2022 represent a savings of over $51 billion for taxpayers. This is $51 billion that American taxpayers did not have to spend. Taxpayers spend nothing on the vast majority of homeschool students, while homeschool families spend an average of $600 per student annually for their education. Families engaged in home-based education are not dependent on public tax-funded resources for their children's education. Homeschooling is quickly growing in popularity among minorities. About 41% of homeschool families are non-white / non-Hispanic. It is estimated that over 9 million Americans had experienced being homeschooled as of February 2020. That would have been the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Asada is here. Thank you for stopping through, Asada. Always good to see you. She says, I homeschooled 1998 to 2022 to unplug from public school and to get away from undisciplined children. Thank you for sharing that. All right. I promise this is not a long piece, but there are some interesting facts and figures in here. All right. Reasons and motivations for home educating. Let's see if any of your reasons fall under this. Most parents and youth decide to homeschool for more than one reason. The most common reasons given for homeschooling are the following: customize or individualize the curriculum and learning environment for each child, Me and Katy Barrett talked about that. Accomplish more academically than in schools. Use pedagogical. Use pedagogical approaches other than those typical in institutional schools. I'm not used to saying that word. Pedagogical. Okay, let me move on. Enhance family relations between children and parents and among siblings. Provide guided and reasoned social interactions with youthful peers and adults. Provide a safer environment for children and youth because of physical violence, drugs and alcohol, psychological abuse, racism, and improper and unhealthy sexuality associated with institutional schools, and as an alternative education approach when public or private institutional schools are closed due to acute health situations such as related to disease, i.e. COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Protect minority children from racism in public schools or lower expectations of children of color. Teach and impart a particular set of values, beliefs, and worldview to children and youth. So you might not agree with some of the social dogma. I'm stealing a page from Dr. Thomas Sowell there. So you might not agree with some of the social things or some of the new sexual norms that are being taught in public schools. So there are numerous reasons for that. You may want to keep your kids in a safe environment, and you may want to keep them from distractions. Academic performance, this might be the most important thing here. The home educated typically score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school students on standardized academic achievement tests. The public school average is roughly the 50th percentile. Scores range from 1 to 99. A 2015 study found Black homeschool students to be scoring 23 to 42 percentile points above Black public school students. Let me read that again. A 2015 study found Black homeschool students to be scoring 23 to 42 percentile points above Black public school students. 78% of peer-reviewed studies on academic achievement show homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in institutional schools. Homeschool students score above average on achievement tests, regardless of their parents' level of formal education or their family's household income. Whether homeschool parents were ever certified teachers is not notably related to their children's academic achievement. Degree of state control and regulation of homeschooling is not related to academic achievement. Home educated students typically score above average on the SAT and ACT tests that colleges consider for admissions, and homeschool students are increasingly being actively recruited by colleges. What does this bar chart say? Yeah, so this is entitled Academic Achievement of Homeschool and State School Students Summary of Many Studies. So that y-axis says national percentile rank average, and the homeschools are, the range is 65 to 80, and the state schools seem to top out at 50. So those schools, the homeschools, are performing better according to this data. All right, we are almost done here. We here. Hello, Sheed. I'm just doing a short follow-up stream to my last interview regarding homeschooling. And Sheed, I'm going to shoot you a text after I finish this. All right. Social, emotional, and psychological development, parentheses, socialization. Research facts on homeschooling show that the home educated are doing well, typically above average on measures of social, emotional, and psychological development. Research measures include peer interaction, self-concept, leadership skills, family cohesion, participation in community service, and self-esteem. 87% of peer-reviewed studies on social, emotional, and psychological development show homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in conventional schools. Homeschool students are regularly engaged in social and educational activities outside their homes with people other than their nuclear family members. They are commonly involved in activities such as field trips, scouting, 4-H, political drives, church ministry, sports teams, and community volunteer work. The balance of research to date suggests that homeschool students may suffer less harm, abuse, neglect, fatalities than conventional school students. Adults who are home educated are more politically tolerant than public schooled in the limited research done so far. All right, gender differences in school and youth respected. One researcher finds that homeschooling gives young people an unusual chance to ask questions such as, who am I? And what do I really want? And through the process of asking and gradually answering the questions, home educated girls develop the strengths and the resistance abilities that give them an unusually strong sense of self. Some think boys' energetic natures and tendency to physical expression can be more easily accommodated in home-based education. Many are concerned that a highly disproportionate number of public school special education students are boys, and that boys are 2.5 times as likely as girls in public schools to be diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay, I think that's important because me and Dr. Johnson, well, we talked about the need for all boys schools, but something's happening to boys. It's well known that something's happening to boys in this country in the public school system. So that is worth reading one more time. Some think that boys' energetic natures and tendency to physical expression can more easily be accommodated in home-based education. Many are concerned that a highly disproportionate number of public school special education students are boys, and that boys are 2.5 times as likely as girls in public schools to be diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So this suggests that there are boys who are being diagnosed with ADHD who should not be diagnosed with ADHD. Success in the real world of adulthood. The research based on adults who are home educated is growing. Thus far, it indicates that 69% of peer-reviewed studies on success into adulthood, including college, show adults who are home educated succeed and perform statistically significantly better than those who attended institutional schools. They participate in local community service more frequently than does the general population. Me and Katy Barrett talked about that. These adults vote and attend public meetings more frequently than the general population. They go to and succeed at college at an equal or higher rate than the general population. By adulthood, they internalize the values and beliefs of their parents at a high rate. That makes sense because they're not getting additional or conflicting ideas from another source, which kids in public school would probably get. Once again, everyone, this was inspired by Erica Williams from the Classy Climb channel. All right, I think we're at the end here. General interpretation of research on homeschool success or failure. It is possible that homeschooling causes the positive traits reported above. However, the research designs to date do not conclusively prove that homeschooling causes these things. At the same time, there is no empirical evidence that homeschooling causes negative things compared to institutional schooling. Future research may better answer the question of causation. Let's see. I'll read this. For more details, see how many homeschool students are there in the United States. The March 2021 estimate is based on data from state governments: Delaware, Florida, Minnesota, Nebraska, North Carolina, and Virginia, the U.S. Census Bureau, and the Department of Education, C. McDonald, 2020. The spring 2019 estimate was based on an estimate of about 2.5% per annum growth from estimates of 2 million home educated children during the spring of 2010 and 2.3 million spring of 2016 in the United States. The estimates of 2.3 million in 2016 was calculated by Brian D. Ray, the author of this fact sheet. He based it on publicly available research findings. Shoot, maybe I'll try to interview this gentleman. Let me see if you have any more comments there. Miss KP Bailey, thank you for stopping through and gracing my channel. I appreciate it. Isada says, actually, no, that's not Isada. That's persona non grata. I'm sorry. Please smash that like button if you haven't. My sister homeschooled my nieces, and the results are excellent. The only issue most people have is social issues. But if they have a community and friends, it's a non-factor. Okay. These are all the links. These are all the references to this page. And then this is the author. Brian D. Ray is an internationally known researcher, educator, speaker, and expert witness, and serves as president of the nonprofit National Home Education Research Institute. He is a former certified teacher in public and private schools and served as a professor in the fields of science, research methods, and education at the graduate and undergraduate levels. He holds a PhD in science education from Oregon State University, a MS in zoology from Ohio University, and a BS in biology from the University of Puget Sound. Dr. Ray has been studying the homeschool movement since about 1984. So he's a scientist just like me. So I may reach out to this guy and see if I can interview him here. But everyone, that's the link. I wanted to circle back and cover this. I touched upon this briefly in my interview with Katy Barrett. Before I end this stream, because I'm at about 30 minutes, I'm gonna go to the highlights of the other article that I showed during that stream, just to kind of cap this off. Let's see. This one is entitled, U.S. Education Rankings Are Falling Behind the Rest of the World. This was from earlier this year. And I'm just going to read these key takeaways, and then I'll wrap this stream up. The U.S. placed 11th out of 79 countries in science when testing was last administered in 2018. I mean, that's still above the halfway point, so I guess that's not so bad, but you want to be first for a second. The top 5 math scoring countries in 2018 were all in Asia. The United States student math scores have remained steady since 2003. Their science scores have been about the same since 2006. The IMD World Competitiveness Center reports that the U.S. ranked 10th in its 2020 competitiveness report after ranking first in 2018. Looks like something happened between 2018 and 2020. Okay. Well, everyone, I'm at about 30 minutes. I didn't intend to go long tonight. it's I didn't have a guest lined up for this week, and I didn't want the channel to lay dormant. So I wanted to circle back and cover this. And I just think that this is important for all of us to keep in mind as we head into this next election year. And it's just important to think about where things are going. Think about, just to think about where things are going in terms of society. And what's happening and what's going to happen to the future generations, whether you have children or you don't, because we're all going to have to live in this country until we transition to the next, whatever the next place is. So, do you all have any more comments before I shut this stream down? Anyone else? And this was once again inspired by Erica Williams. And she keeps her eyes. I like a lot of things about Erica, but she keeps her eyes on the societal trends and where things are going. So I think it's significant that more homes are homeschooling. And my father is a retired educator, and I heard a lot of his stories towards the end of his career. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap this stream up and try to relax a little bit. Look out for, I have some other guests coming, and then I think there are two I want to talk to before Christmas. And then I want to take a little break because this does wear you out after a while. YouTubing and making content and getting on camera, it does wear you out after a while. So everyone, I have a newsletter. The link is in the description box. Please consider signing up, those of you who haven't. And if you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. You can leave a super thanks as well. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're new. As of now, I need 16 more subs to get to 1,900. So all of that. So everyone, have a good night. Stay warm wherever you are. If you're in one of the mid-Atlantic and Midwestern states, there's snow coming across the country. And it was in the 20s here in Western New York. So stay warm wherever you are. Wear gloves, put your scarf on, put your hat on. So, all right, everyone. Miss KP Bailey, thank you. Thank you for stopping through. Thank you. I appreciate that. This wasn't the most... My next guest, I'll just say he's in his content, he gives a lot of commentary on YouTube, the content creators and the people on the panels and in the chats, and people want to be entertained. So I appreciate you all coming and listening. And those of you who watched this on the playback, if you've watched all of this, I appreciate you watching, because this isn't celebrity gossip. So anyway, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Hopefully sooner than later. Good night, and bye-bye.